Yeah, we are so glad to have Maurice Blackwell, Travis Smith, and Joe DeVito from Badger Meter with us today. Maurice, you have had a truly remarkable career in the water industry, and it's always a pleasure to visit with you.
Thank you,
For those
Craig.
of you who don't know Maurice, he's been with Badger Meter for over 27 years, and he is now the Senior Manager of Utility Solutions. Many of you may recognize Maurice as the host of Badger Meter's The Smart Water Show, which is a terrific online resource for information on smart water topics, technologies, and solutions. And we heartily congratulate you on approaching the second anniversary of the Smart Water Show. And Joe has a very unique role in that he serves both sides of the water industry. He is a strategic solutions architect for Badger Meter, and he's also the mayor of the town of Port Royal, South Carolina. And then Travis has been with Badger Meter for a little over a year as the Senior Director of Strategic Marketing, but Travis and Jonathan and I have been working together for many years on various AWWA committees, and we're certainly glad that all three of you could join us today. And Maurice, Badger Meter certainly has grown its static water meter product line in the last year. And would you please tell us more about your new G2 residential E-Series water meter, and how does this new ultrasonic water meter differ from the first generation E-Series residential meters?
You know, sometimes, Craig, I forget that these meters have been on the market as long as they are. You know, we introduced our first residential size ultrasonic meter back in 2008. So think about 12 years of development here. Well, when these meters first came to market, right, their draw is that they've got no moving parts. And having no moving parts, I've got nowhere. I'm going to have that long-term sustainable accuracy. That's what every water utility is wishing for. Well, back in 2017, there was a company out of Louisville, Sweden called DeVito Technologies. That company had helped most of the U.S. manufacturers bring their ultrasonic meters to market. Badger Meter purchased that company back in 2017 because we wanted to sort of fast track increasing some of the capabilities of the meters and increasing the sizes as well. So we have started to redesign some of our meters, and our new Gen 2 series meter, one of the biggest capabilities that is adding for customers is increased revenue capture. So think about a typical residential meter. You're recording flows from maybe a quarter of a gallon, a half gallon per minute, up to about 20 or 25 gallons per minute. This new G2 residential size has an operating range measuring all the way down to 8/100ths of a gallon, and then an extended operating range going all up to 30 gallons per minute. So typically where you may have had a 3/4 inch meter in that application, you're now able to put this type of meter. And then on an extended low flow basis where your accuracy goes to 97%, I'm recording now at 4/100ths of a gallon. That's a lot of revenue capture.
Yes, indeed. With very low head loss too, right?
Exactly.
I have to say we are equally impressed with the new large Badger Meter G2 ultrasonic meters. And as a design engineer, I appreciate the fact that Badger Meter has released this new ultrasonic meter in both a turbine lay length and a compound lay length. I also appreciate that these meters are both UL listed and FM approved for fire service applications, because those two things make my job much easier.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what these meters have to offer water utilities today, and what kind of battery life a customer can expect?
A great question. This is where I see most water utilities sort of dipping their toe in the water, if you will, with electronic meters, ultrasonic meters, is on their large meter applications. These meters have a 10-year battery life, right? The other thing that we've done with this design is we've designed it to have a replaceable set of electronics, right? The pipe itself, the meter body itself, is like a glorified piece of pipe. So what you're able to do is, after that 10-year where the battery dies, is you're able to remove the electronics and put a new series of electronics in, keeping the pipe, if you will, the body of the meter in place, and then just recalibrating that, and you've got a brand new meter in place. But again, these meters are coming almost more like sensors as well. You've got integrated pressure and temperature capabilities in these meters, and that data, the pressure and temperature data, is now able to be sent back over an AMI system as well. So utilities are always looking for ways to monitor different pressure zones throughout the system. Now having this capability, that meter is giving you that data. The other thing that I want to point out about these is sometimes you might have your end customer, large customer, wanting to have access to that data, like consumption data, sending it to their maybe 4 to 20 or have a scaled or unscaled pulse. They now are able to have a dual output capability on these meters and then send that information on to your customer. Those are great features, but the one thing that I want to get back to is what I touched on with the smaller meters. It's the increase in operating range and revenue capture. What I've highlighted here is the 3-inch size and now this extended operating range. With a 3-inch meter now, you're able to capture flows down to 3/4 of a gallon all the way up to 560 gallons per minute. Because I've got no moving parts, right, my max continuous duty is the top of my operating range, and then my extended low flow at 97% goes all the way down to 3/8 of a gallon. Well, let's compare that to maybe a typical 3-inch compound meter. The 3-inch compound meter would now have capabilities to read down to a half gallon per minute, so I'm pretty close to that operating range there. But the high side of a 3-inch compound meter is only up to 450 gallons per minute. So I've got a lot more on the operating range. And then because I've got moving parts in a mechanical meter, I've got a max continuous duty. That max continuous duty of a 3-inch would be 400 gallons per minute. So think about the added capability where I might not need to upsize to a larger meter, and I can get that same capability out of a smaller meter at the 3-inch size. And then my extended low flow on a 3-inch compound meter would be down to 1/4 of a gallon per minute. So I'm very close to being able to get that low side, same type of capabilities, without having a moving parts meter, meaning I'm going to have less maintenance involved here as well.
Absolutely. And the 6 and the 8-inch meters, are those available now?
Those have been released. Those are both available to be purchased.
Okay. Well, let's talk about installation for a minute. I know that the G2 large ultrasonic water meter can be installed in either the horizontal or the vertical plane. Does Badger Meter recommend any lengths of straight pipe either upstream or downstream from the meter to stabilize the flow profile entering the meter and increase its accuracy?
That's a good point, Craig. These meters are like a turbine meter where they're a inferential meter. I'm measuring velocity. I do need to have a pretty straight velocity profile approaching the meter. We recommend 5 pipe diameters upstream and then 5 down. A little different than you would have if you had a traditional mechanical meter where if you didn't have a strainer in place, you'd have to have 10 pipe diameters of straight pipe. So in the case where you might have a small vault or you don't have a lot of room there, this might be a better application there as well.
Okay. What about strainers? If there is an existing strainer in the setting, should you leave the strainer where it is, or should you install the strainer downstream of the meter?
Interesting thing about these meters is they don't require a strainer at all. If you look at through our Gen 2 meters, these are completely open tube design. So I don't really need that strainer there. The one thing where I would say about a strainer, and I love asking this question of a water utility, do you have a strainer maintenance cleaning program? And I think I've only had one utility ever say to me, yeah, I actually clean our strainers every 6 months. The reason I say that is because when you do have a strainer in place, as I heard Jonathan say earlier, strainers are great. You need to have them there. But when you don't clean a strainer and you have this buildup of debris, you're actually skewing the water velocity profile, which could skew your readings as well. So again, another case for this meter is that I don't need a strainer.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Maurice. I've been doing this a little bit shorter than you have, but only been doing it 20 years, and I too have only known of one utility that cleaned their strainers annually. So yeah, I agree completely with you.
Right.
What are some new features with the Badger Meter Beacon AMA system and its analytics software suite, and then of course your Ion Water customer engagement portal?
Well, there's a lot of features. I'm going to touch on just two exciting features that are coming. When it comes to AMI today, we're delivering a lot of data, right? 15-minute interval data. And as I always say to utilities, well, what are you going to do with that data if you don't have a powerful analytics package behind you? One of the new features we're adding is what we call data watchers. And what the data watchers allows the utility to do is to say, what type of anomalous exception conditions do I care about? Leaks or tampers, reverse flow, high flow, low flow, no flow. Instead of having someone come in and do some special programming or reporting on those, we've set up a system where the data watcher allows you to pick the type of anomaly that you want to hear about, select the accounts that you want to monitor, and then say, how do you want to be notified? And then the system will then notify you when you have those exception conditions. So it makes the system a heck of a lot more powerful. The one other point that I'll make on our Ion Water consumer portal, we've also added the capability now to do bill presentment and bill pay in those portals as well.
Okay, excellent. All right, well, Travis, in your role as Senior Director of Strategic Marketing for Badger Meter, can you discuss the future of smart water from your point of view?
Sure, Craig. Thanks for having us today on the Blue Water webinar series. What I think today people are really buying is an automatic data collection and analytics, as the value is really in the information and being presented to the utilities for a multitude of purposes. And so those systems comprise of intelligent measurement. Morrice talked about a lot of the features in the new water meters, and we're expanding that beyond just metrology into other sensors and adding sensors into the meters. So that measurement capability is expanding. And then you have to bring the information to the utility's front door through communications. And it's not just a singular basis, but you see hybrids and multitudes of conveyance methods to bring that information, and then integrating it with data that the utility may already have or metadata from the rest of the world. And then finally putting that into a package where you can get intel out of it to be used beyond just meter to cash applications that have been the historical basis of these types of systems. But now we see it being applied to health and safety, asset management, operations, engineering planning, customer service, as well as the classic meter to cash. And that helps open up a multitude of benefits of revenue capture, cost reduction, risk mitigations in the utilities. You guys talked earlier today about a lot of bad potential scenarios. By identifying with better data, you can abate those risks, enhancing customer service, increasing the efficiency to increase the sustainability of the utility, as well as improve those asset optimizations through the life cycle of the utility.
Well, you mentioned automated data collection and analytics. Is this the future of AMI?
Yeah, I think that the term AMI is now becoming somewhat antiquated because advanced meter infrastructure is no longer really applicable to what's being taken place. So you see a multitude of measurement. And today you see utilization of cellular communications. So there's already 400,000 cellular towers in the United States alone that can be deployed as an asset for those utilities to collect data. So it's no longer just a function of meters and infrastructure, as that term indicates, but really a collection of measurement, communications, data, and analytics as a holistic package for the utilities to use for a multitude of benefits.
So how do you see water utilities taking all of this data that is now available through an AMI network and using it for distribution system operation and optimization?
Sure. Well, there's obviously the classic meter to cash applications that we've talked about here throughout the webinar. But now we can utilize data throughout the distribution system and even source water, plant operations, collection systems. The most common and easiest, and probably the next foray into the industry, is monitoring pressure, because that can give you an indication both of inflow, water main bursts, or potential service risks associated with that particular delivery of the water. And it also provides an indicator of leakage and efficiency in the system that can be used to identify non-revenue water places to repair leaks or potential tamper conditions or service connections that were unauthorized. So some exciting times for the water industry to come as we combine those types of data flow, hydraulics, and water quality for a multitude of uses.
Yeah, it's a great time to be in our industry, and thank you, Travis. And now I'd like to talk to Joe. Joe, over the past 2 years, Badger Meter has made 2 very significant acquisitions to move into the water quality space. And can you tell us more about these?
Yeah, Craig, thank you so much. Excuse me. Thank you so much for asking me about that. And you're correct. Over the past 2 years, we purchased both SCAN and ATI. And if you look at these 2 companies, there's 50 years worth of experience between these companies. So these are not new startup companies in any way. They're well known in the industry and across the world in that aspect. And the reason these companies make sense for Badger, well, first of all, it meets the model of low maintenance. These are reagent-free sensors. No chemical contracts associated with the standard monitoring that is required. We're using both optical and electrical chemical sensors to be able to read water quality and bring it to your desktop the same way we brought meter readings to your desktop. We can bring these type of water quality devices in again. And also, these 2 companies were both already in the cellular space, which fit very well with what we believe is the future for, as Travis would say, an AMI network that's probably going to change its terminology in time. So the next slide that comes up here is really allows us to think about where Badger Meter is with the acquisition of these 2 customers, our metrology line of where we are in the water cycle. And we're in all aspects of the water cycle, from the raw water, from the source water supply, to the production, the delivery, the final water consumption side, the distribution network, back through the wastewater and right back into that water stream. So through our water quality and our metrology side, we're able to help utilities, municipalities, counties really know exactly what's happening and be a good steward of the environment all the way through this water cycle. So the slide that I have here is talking about the different parameters that you can monitor in the system. So if you think about water quality and you're thinking about that entire water cycle, there are over 400 different parameters that can be monitored. We're at about 35 of those, but if you think about the distribution system and what the EPA recommends, what we're really looking at is chlorine, pH, conductivity, turbidity, ORP, which measures that cleanliness of the water, nitrites, organics. Wow, we can take organics from the lab and do it out in the distribution system with our optical sensors and move that away from a laboratory response right out into the distribution system and report that information in and back to the desktop. With our pressure and temperature, we already entered into that market with our E-Series meters. So combining the E-Series meters with these type of sensors really allows you to manage the entire distribution network. What you're looking at here is one of the assets that you could use to deploy. So this is what we call our Metronet system, which is a low-powered system. It runs approximately 2 years off of D-cell batteries. The maintenance that required is really a 6-month maintenance activity to go by, clean the chlorine sensor, and allow you to keep that, so use it as a reportable way to report what's happening in the system. So if anybody is doing daily grab samples and bringing them back to the lab and running those, we now have solutions and monitoring stations to bring them directly out in the field. Go ahead and bring that information in, bring it through the cellular network, and we can supply that information through dual output, just like our meter. So the distribution guys maybe look at that through Beacon, but if the laboratory side needs that for their other information, it can go into a SCADA system or into your LIMS system as well. The next device that I've got listed here is what we call our pipe scan. I'm really proud of this device and very excited about this, because this device, it's not a low-powered device, but it has no waste stream whatsoever. So this device gets mounted directly onto a piece of pipe. It uses our optical sensors. It can measure up to 10 different parameters, and it uses a nano pump to draw the water into the device, circulate it through the sensors, and inject it right back into that pipe. So you don't have to worry about a waste stream for freezing. There's no chemicals involved, and allows you to really look at that. The analytics behind this, it monitors constantly what it's sampling, and it will notice anomalies and report them to you immediately if a sample starts getting out of the normal parameters, not something that you have to set up. it looks for it and it notifies you of that in that aspect.
Wow, that is truly amazing, and I appreciate you sharing that information with us.